is SportsLine.
Hey there, SportsLine on your television. Steve Lehman here with you. Glad you are here with us on this Tuesday night on News Channel 5 Plus. Fun show straight ahead. Brent Dougherty from 104.5 The Zone. 3HL is here. We'll get to him in just a second. We're going to take a lot of your phone calls as well over the course of the night. That's what he's good at on the radio, so we're going to let you get in on this as well tonight. 737-7767 is the number. A couple news and notes from the day. Real quickly, obviously basketball games tonight. Tennessee, Georgia just about to tip off in Knoxville. A must-win game for the Volunteers. Vanderbilt, of course, looking for the season sweep tomorrow night against Missouri in Columbia. That is a game that could certainly propel them towards bigger things down the stretch of the season if they could steal that one on the road. As far as some of the other things going on out there today, the Titans actually having an event for season ticket holders tonight, sort of talking about the new era of Titans football under Ken Wisenhunt. We'll visit that topic as well during the course of the evening. And we can talk about some of the Olympics. The U.S. tied with right at the top the medal count with 20 after today. And, of course, the U.S. men's hockey team starts quarterfinal action tomorrow against the Czech Republic. One college football note that is newsworthy: Vanderbilt defensive line coach Vi Tata arrested over the weekend for drunken driving and leaving the scene of an accident. Today, head coach Derek Mason and the school suspended him indefinitely pending their own internal investigation. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. He's a guy who was just hired, obviously, after Mason came on board in January, just about a week or so ago, and now already in trouble. It's something Vanderbilt will have to work itself out. But again, our guest tonight, Brent Dougherty from 3HL. 104.5 The Zone. 3HL. You guys don't still call it the 3-hour lunch, do you?
No, I don't know what we call it. I mean, we call it 3HL. I don't know what that really means, though. People want to box us in and define what that means. I don't know what it means.
You guys are pretty undefinable. Really.
We are. You can't, like I said, you can't box us in. You never know what's going to happen because I never know what's going to happen. You know, we walk into work and we start with a clean slate and we go from there. Speaking
of you never know what's going to happen, you actually missed this when you came in just a few minutes ago. We had sort of behind-the-scenes chaos in our 6 o'clock newscast tonight where our master control essentially went down and they couldn't control any commercials or anything like that. So we literally did the last 35 minutes of our 6 to 7 o'clock newscast with no commercials. So we'd get to the end of the block and we'd be just about to toss to a commercial and they'd say, nope, back to you guys, and you just move right into the next block. So I did sports 5 minutes early tonight, and they asked me to stretch a little bit, and so my 4 minutes turned into 5.5 sort of thing. So when
you stretch on TV, what do?
I'm just adding lines. I was talking about, you've heard the story today that Tennessee and Georgia, that game is on ESPN tonight.
Yeah, right.
Because the roof basically collapsed at Assembly Hall in Bloomington, Indiana.
Yeah.
And they're not playing that game tonight. They canceled the Iowa-Indiana game. Well, all I was going to say, if I had my normal amount of time, is because of a postponement of the Iowa-Indiana game, Tennessee-Georgia's now been moved to ESPN tonight. Your warning out there. I told the whole story about the roof collapsing and there being snow on the roof and ice and it being too much for it to take.
It's a horrific story, man.
Oh, yeah, it's awful. All I can say is, thank God they didn't play tonight, and that happened. Have you seen the video?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
That is a
absolutely
huge
ridiculous
piece of metal that comes down, and it would have been total disaster if there were people in that area.
100%. So basically, you had to go into talk show mode, which is what I do every day. I would have loved that scenario.
Exactly. Fortunately, I had the easy part because I just had the last 4 or 5 minutes, and with sports, it's pretty easy to kind of throw in a couple extra
so who
lines
struggled
there. Oh, everybody did well. Everybody did well. It came off well. And hopefully, if you were at home, you just thought it was bonus news coverage.
Yeah.
News without commercials tonight. But
so that Tennessee-Georgia game did flip to ESPN, but you know what else? It's on 104.5 The Zone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice
so you
promo
can listen there.
I do want to know, though, what's the craziest thing? Because that's right up there with one of the craziest things that's ever happened while I've been trying to do a newscast or a sportscast. What's the craziest thing that's happened to you while on live radio?
In this new age of modern technology where we sit here with the phone in front of us on television, every day with the laptop in front of me, just monitoring Twitter. Rick Pitino hates that, by the way. But so stories happen so fast. That's right. Stories happen so fast. So, while we're on the air, we joke that we're not prepared and all this stuff. We really are. We have an outline of what we're doing and everything. But
you are.
One example.
Is Clay?
Blaine is. One example. Last year, the Manti Te'o story happened while we were on the air. So we had like 3 guests lined up to come on in the afternoon, and you see that Deadspin story come across on Twitter, and it was a really long story. So we sent Clay out, and he read it for like 15 minutes. He came back in, and then you just have to talk about that because our goal doing what we do is to talk about what people are talking about. And Twitter, with Twitter now, news happens so fast and gets out so fast that it really provides us with a good opportunity to just run with whatever's happening.
So nothing where mics are breaking in the middle of the show, or
no, not that I know of.
Studio's on fire. Or anything
I will say this: when I was at 1510, we had a lot of guys on the weekend that would purchase time, right? And so they would do shows. And I don't know if it was a garden guy or a golf guy or something like that. Anyway, so the only people in the building were this guy doing his show and a producer. Well, guy's doing his show, everything's going fine. The producer gets mad about something, flips out, calls his boss, says, "I'm leaving, I'm out of here," and left the building with a guy that purchased time. He's not a radio guy, didn't go to broadcast school, anything. So he had to do what you guys did, but by himself, while another guy drove in from Dixon. So he's sitting in there for 40 minutes just talking about flowers.
Oh my gosh.
And so that's kind of crazy, but nothing really weird has happened to me that I can remember. I
actually started in radio. I don't know how many people know that, but my very first night that I ever did it, I was still in high school, and it was just my internship. This is back in Champaign, Illinois, where I grew up. And I go in, and probably 20 minutes after I'm there, the guy who's sort of watching me says he has to run to the bathroom, and he says, "Okay, if there's a baseball game on," he says, "if they go to break, all you got to do is press this button on that thing on the computer, and it plays the break automatically, and you're good. And then when they come back, just pot up the the mics, and you go." And sure enough, about 20 seconds later, they get a inning-ending double play. They go to break. I click on it. Nothing happens. And we sit in dead air for about 2 minutes, and he comes running back out of the bathroom saying, "What's going on?" So I thought I was fired on my first day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You probably should have been.
I should have been,
yeah.
But I survived, fortunately.
Well,
they really couldn't fire me, though, because I wasn't paid, and I was just an intern. So, I guess they could have told me not to come back, but they were no worse for wear by keeping me around.
You can fire that guy.
He probably should have been fired, that's for sure, because I'd only been there for about 15 minutes. Brent Dougherty from 104.5 The Zone here tonight. Again, our phone lines are open, 737-7767, if you would like to chime in. You are fairly freshly back from New York City. You guys went up there, did your radio show from the Super Bowl. My biggest curiosity, because the game stunk, but there was so much talk about New York City and how it handled the Super Bowl. I'd been to the previous 3, and I've got rankings of about just about everything of how Indianapolis and Dallas and New Orleans compared to each other.
Yeah.
How did New York City and New Jersey, how did they pull off Super Bowl week and the game?
Well, we went up Super Bowl week, like you said. So I actually came back into town on Friday, which is I've covered 4 Super Bowls. I've never been to one, not even the Titans game against the Rams. But New York handled it exceptionally well, I thought. I mean, what's interesting is that city is so big that if you didn't happen to stroll down Times Square, for example, you might not even know that the Super Bowl was in New York. Wow. So, it was a lot of fun, and, we got out and, hit some restaurants and met some cool people and hit the parties. Went to the Bud Light party. Busta Rhymes, Run DMC, Naughty by Nature, DJ Jazzy Jeff. Really cool. The Roots. Awesome.
See, now that's the thing, because every time I've been there, we've been working like 120-hour weeks.
Oh, yeah,
and so you don't get to do basically anything while you're there. But everybody talks about the parties. Oh, what was the coolest thing? I mean, that's a pretty good list right there. What was the coolest thing you saw in New York?
Well, we were sitting on Radio Row, for lack of a better term. It's a huge room in a convention center, actually the Sheraton at Times Square. And we're sitting there doing our show. And because of Eastern time, our show goes to 7 o'clock Eastern. So we're basically sitting in an empty room during the 6 o'clock hour. So we're sitting there trying to figure out which pre-recorded interviews we're going to play to wrap the show one day. And we look over and I say to Clay, I said, that looks like Jesse Jackson.
I heard that interview.
And it was Jesse Jackson in Radio Row. And at this point, during the day, there's probably 1,000 people in this room, but at 6 o'clock at night, there might be 40. So he does one show. Our guy Peter Burns does a show in Denver that we're really good friends with, does a great job. And he brings him over to us. And so Jesse Jackson by himself comes over and does a sports talk show interview in the Nashville market. And, politics aside, it was just kind of cool to talk to him and get, firsthand experience of Dr. King getting shot and the speech in Washington and the I Have a Dream speech. I mean, so it was really cool. And the funny thing about that was, number one, I still don't know why he was there. I guess to self-promote, but he wasn't really promoting anything but maybe himself. And the second thing, he was by himself. All these superstars that come through there, like Kevin Costner was there one day, and that's just an example, but they all walk around with these handlers, and usually many of them, and Jesse Jackson was by himself.
That is crazy. I heard that interview. You guys did a great job transcending sports, I thought, with the interview. And that's the thing that always sticks out to me about the Super Bowl is how the crowd really does transcend sports. It's not just NFL guys. It's stars from all walks of sports and walks of life.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Actors, I remember Adam Sandler in Indianapolis walking by, and Seth Meyers was on, one of our shows. And so you've got actors, you've got entertainers, you've got musicians, you've got Hall of Famers, you've got current athletes. Everybody's in there usually pitching something. But that's the fun part from my perspective, is that we don't know who's going to sit down next. So you're completely unprepared. You have to act like you are, and that's the challenge in it.
Did you guys see A.J. McCarron?
I did not see
any of his Axe hairspray or anything.
But I know that he was there. Yeah, I did not get any Axe hairspray.
Final question on this topic.
Yeah.
After being at the New York, New Jersey Super Bowl, and there was so much talked about, do you think the way it went off, are we likely to see another cold weather Super Bowl, or do you think this was a one-off experiment?
No, people were talking about it. I think it's definitely going to happen again. Now, what's interesting is that city got stocked in the next day with a snowstorm.
Oh, they got real lucky.
Yeah, Chad Withrow from Midday 180, Clay Travis, they were supposed to leave on Monday, and both of them had flights canceled, so they had to come back on Tuesday. So it would have been interesting to see how they would have handled the situation had that snowstorm been about 20 hours earlier. But in terms of problems, really the only problem was transportation, because everybody was trying to get to New Jersey. I heard parking over there was like $400, so everybody was taking the train, and there were lots of delays there.
But people pass out at the train station.
Yeah, but in terms of cold weather Super Bowl, I think they came away with that reasonably pleased.
It wasn't even the coldest Super Bowl on record.
No. And what's funny is in a couple of years it's going to be in the Bay Area, right? In the new San Francisco 49ers Stadium. It was actually colder there during the Super Bowl than it was in New Jersey.
Yeah, that is very interesting. As somebody once said, the coldest winter I ever spent was the summer in San Francisco.
Yeah, right.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens
now, here's the thing,
February in San Francisco.
Quick, Nashville needs to get one. I came back. Did you go to the Super Bowl in Indianapolis?
Yeah.
I came back from Indianapolis convinced that Nashville could get it done.
I think it would be amazing here. And I want to talk about this more after this break. I think it would be amazing here, but I think there's one big commitment that Nashville has to make to get it done. We'll talk about that when we come back. 737-7767. Brent Dougherty is our guest. We'll have more with him as we continue on here on SportsLine.